an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering the Afterparty, Season 2, Episode 7, Ulysses. In this episode, we find out that, indeed, Ulysses did have an affair with Vivian. And we're still unsure whether or not Grace is actually his child, despite Vivian assuring him she isn't. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Until he gets that test back he did on the sly. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Max for commissioning this episode. This was first of all, the genre of this particular episode was, a sort of like over the top romance drama. And I have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of those. And so while I definitely knew that a lot of the shots, the music, the flowery language was certainly going to be like on point, there were probably, as in the previous episode, some specific references that I wasn't really getting. The thing that I kept thinking of with this one was The English Patient, which I have never seen. It was such a big deal when I was, I was young when that movie came out. And I still remember my mother being like, just, oh my God, it was so wonderful. And then there's a whole episode of Seinfeld where Elaine hated it and she can't tell anybody because everyone loves it so much. And she finally just bursts out screaming, I hate it, in the middle of the movie theater. But yeah, I really, even outside of like the genre itself, enjoyed this so much just because the drama is, I don't know how much of this is real. A part of me feels like Ulysses went off and fucking like just stayed in some shitty motel somewhere and made up this whole like traveling the world thing. But because of how hard it was to track him down, according to Edgar, and the fact that like Patagonia is indeed pointed out on the map, which, I mean, that could be anything. Maybe that's not why, but it does seem like he was actually living in this faraway place. So let's just get into this one, shall we? The fucking thumbnail for this with him like smelling the flower. I don't even remember if it's a rose or not, but so this episode, it continues with the whole thing with like Zoe not wanting her family to be interviewed and Anik having to tell her like, but we really do need to talk to them. You don't know what they know. Like, it's certainly possible that they have some information. And at first, she's really like, I can't believe you would do this. Keep continuing to doing the thing. But when they actually say we would rather not be interviewed, all of a sudden, now, she's like, wait, why not? Hold on, what's the problem? And I really did kind of like this twist that she's insisting they know they have every right to say no, to turn it down. And she's very like vehement about it when she says it. But the fact that they agree with her and so quickly are just like, yes, well, thank you. We would rather pass. It just clearly takes her so off guard, Oh my God, I forgot about the fact that Ulysses says that he uses a little bit of kumis on in the Dutch babies instead of buttermilk, and Anik for a moment is going to have one, and then he's just like, oh, wait, no, absolutely not. These Dutch babies, I will say, they do look pretty good. I've never had one. I know what they are, but I've always been sort of like, if I'm going to bother with that, I really kind of just want a regular pancake, you know? But I don't know, maybe I would try it and be like, oh my God, why would I ever do a pancake if I can have one of these? Who knows? I should probably just give it a shot, but... Anik talking to her about, like, I can't fuck the arsonist. And he just says that with no context whatsoever. And she says, I know Sebastian's almost done doing whatever he's been doing. Which, I don't know what that is. Like, and the fact that, I don't think I even brought this up in the last episode, but his episode, you know, he talks about how this whole thing is for him to get back his baseball card, but that does not address why he is pretending to be Edgar in these other business dealings behind Edgar's back. And I don't remember if there's any sort, because, like, obviously Anik and Danner don't know about that. We saw him talking to this person and using Edgar's voice, but they didn't see that, and he doesn't bring it up. So he's still in the middle of something that could or could not have anything to do with this. And Anik is trying to say to her, like, we're not accusing anybody, but they may know something. And then, of course, here, none of them killed Edgar. And if you think that they did, then... you know what? I don't want to talk about this with you anymore. And I'm just so over her. I really am, you guys. Like, I know this is the point of her with this whole thing, but there is, like, I'm reaching a place where I'm sort of like, Zoe, did you fucking kill Edgar? Because it's really feeling you're so overprotective that I can't help but feel like you're hiding something now. It's so over the top. Being like, they didn't kill him as a reason why they don't need to be interviewed. You aren't that stupid. You know better than that. It's not about whether somebody has done the murder. It is about whether they saw anything that could ultimately be relevant. And the fact that you're just playing it so hard right now, that this, like, outraged bit, I'm starting to feel like there's something else going on. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, this is the point where they say that we don't want to participate. And she's just like, wait, why wouldn't you want to talk to them? If you don't, it makes you look kind of guilty. And her mother says, I'm being accused because I saved some flowers. And Feng says it's gone too far. And Zoe tries to be like, sure, we're on the same page, but very clearly, like, they are not anymore. So we go to Ulysses. And y'all, I just really want to mention Ulysses' time in the shower while Anik is waiting. I don't feel like he counts for that. And I am really feeling like something was going on during that time. I am sort of wondering if him and Vivian didn't do this, like, together or something. I still have my eye on Vivian. I almost want it to be Feng because he's so funny and silly and has been, like, taken advantage of in a way that I would be sort of delighted if it turned out he isn't as foolish as he seems and not as goofy. He's actually really smart and conniving. But it's just the whole thing with that shower scene that felt so performative. There's something there, you know? But anyway, so he's doing his whole, like, you want to hear my story? The whole story? And at first, Anik is like, well, just tell us about the wedding. But he can't be that simple. He starts with, like, I'm a wanderer. And the fucking words he's using and everything, it's an epic tale. It begins long ago in the harsh, unforgiving desert of the Middle East. And he spins this globe, and it's continuing to spin as the camera zooms in on it. And I swear to God, it was just so, like, I almost like get chills because it's such a fucking like trope that a part of me can't help but be like, yeah, here we go. Like, I really fell for this hard. And when I say fell for it, I mean like immediately got on board. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying here that like he was not in the army, he was with the army. And he was with this like performing dance group that does all of this different type of dancing. And they're in this bizarre outfit. It's like a Star-Spangled Banner vest and like hat. And I guess they were going to perform for the troops on stage. It's really fun because they're all wearing these, you know, everybody except the performers are wearing fatigues and they're in this very like dun colored back of a truck. And so these costumes look even more fucking bananas in this context, but they look bananas anyway. He's got like these Mickey Mouse fucking like white cotton gloves on. And of course, at this point, somebody is saying like, oh, can you teach me to do that, man? And a bomb goes off. They hit like some sort of, IED. He gets out and he sees one of his friends, a fellow performer, Terry, on the ground, and he has lost his leg. And he's screaming, somebody find his foot. Somebody find his fucking foot. And apparently it's supposed to be that he suffers such bad PTSD from this that it kind of like ruins his life for a little while. And we jump ahead to San Francisco. The tour was canceled. I left the USO and went back to civilian life, but I was lost. I had nothing to come home to. And you guys, the way that he acts when he's having these like nightmares and he's like dancing in his sleep, that shit was so fucking funny. Like, this actor, you know, I've seen him in some things. I know that he was in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I've never seen that. And I know that he was in a lot of other like sort of trashy shit comedies. Like he was in some of the follow-ups of American Pie. Like, you know, they made like a million sequels of that. But he was also in some good shit. He was on 30 Rock. He was in, what was the other thing that I like was like, oh, that's what I know him from. There was some movie. But anyway, he's been in a lot of things and they've been mostly comedies. So when I saw him like come in on the horse, I was like really ready for it. And he did not disappoint with this performance. It is so great. He's like at this dinner and he's holding a like whiskey glass and his hand is trembling. And he's trying to control himself here with like the demons that are haunting him. And his brother, Feng, it turns out is like not his full-blooded brother. And we don't really go into a lot of detail about that. But he says he was from my mother's previous marriage, but Feng always treated me with the warmth of a full brother. And when Feng asks, what have you been up to? He says, I tried tap dancing to see if I still had it in me, but every shuffle heel toe felt like machine gun fire. And then he does like a machine gun fire like sound effect. And it's so like jarring and loud that he just gets the baby crying, who is Zoe over here in the bassinet. And the reaction he has, I'm a bunkle. Bad uncle. Oh my God, you guys, this whole thing. The way that they play this is so great. So Feng is not only super like supportive of him, but he's also sort of the the put upon spouse who's like deeply self-sacrificing and everything. So like there comes a point later where he says that, oh, my fingers are too, what do you call it? Too calloused due to like washing the floors and caring for our only child. Like it's really meant to emphasize just how good a person he is and that he doesn't deserve this, you know? And he plays that role really well here. It's very fun. Ariel's in the chat and says he was in Star Trek and Searching. It was Star Trek. Thank you, Ariel. I knew there was one. I was like, he was a main in that. And it's interesting because like so much of what he's been in is comedy, but Star Trek, it was much more of a drama. I think there were probably some comedic bits, but it wasn't his usual thing. And I thought he was very good in it. So anyway, the little pamphlet that Feng gives him is about joining in competitive ballroom dance. And Feng tells him Vivian could help get you back out there as your partner because she competed in college and she came in third at nationals. And I love, she looks at him and says, it was 30th. And he says, it's still pretty good. Yeah. And the moment that he says this, you can see that the look on Ulysses' face is, I never knew. And it's very like, he's seeing her in an entirely different light now. He had no idea. And you know, the moment this is starting, I'm just like, okay, well, they're definitely going to fuck. So, yeah, here we go. So, he begins practicing with her. And we have some, like, dramatic moments of him clearly being very pent up, not having the looseness that you need to really get into things as a dancer. She's like grabbing him and sort of trying to push him, and he isn't responding well. And she tells him, you need to dance from in here, and puts her hand on his chest. And he says, there's nothing in there but pain, okay? And she says, then let it out. And so then we have this like sequence, dance with the pain. And you guys, it's so much fun because he is not a good dancer. So the whole scene of the two of them, like, it feels very, very serious, but also the quality of what they're doing is not, it doesn't match the tone of everything. It's really, really fun. I really enjoyed this a lot. We see this like sort of blur as they're participating in competitive ballroom dance together, and they keep getting like pretty decent, placement. And then they go to Tampa Southeast Regionals. And the two of them are on the beach, and she wants to do this move with him that it's very like Dirty Dancing, where she's going to come at him and he has to catch her and lift her into the air. And he's like, I'm too broken, I can't. But she says that she believes in him, and so they do it. And this whole fucking dance, like, it's just so not good, guys. It's not good. It's just not. It's so funny. I really do enjoy this. So she backs up and she says, and now you're going to catch me. And he has like the flashbacks, and it's just so much. And he catches her and he lifts her into the air. You guys, I really enjoyed, she's wearing this sort of like white cotton or linen sundress, and he's wearing this like white similar fabric button-up shirt that is like unbuttoned, to mid chest and everything. When he catches her and he sort of spins her around, it looks like she's wearing straight up white bloomers underneath this dress. And I think that has to be like a really specific choice they made. I don't know if it is. Maybe it's not bloomers. Maybe it's like a petticoat or something. But it looked like she was in like period dress. And I do like that despite this having taken place recently, it is giving timeless because of the costuming, So he kisses her as he like puts her down. She stops him, pushes him away, turns and begins to leave, and then she stops and turns around and looks at him and comes back to him, and they're like, again on this beach in this totally secluded cove, and they just get down right there on the beach. And I love Anik's reaction because he knows that his girlfriend has no idea about this. So he's in on this huge family secret that she doesn't even have any clue over. And he's really obsessing a little bit later on like what to do and whether to tell her. Danner very rightfully is like, it is not your secret to tell. So no, you don't tell her. But honestly, it would be very hard to know a thing like this about Owen's family and not tell him. I agree that it's not my secret to tell, but you guys, I can't lie. I'm pretty sure I would tell him. I think I just would. I just don't know how you just sit on that, you know? But anyway, so this is when when we come back to the present, he shows them, the two of them, this photo of them having danced together, like, and then when Anik points out this is just you two dancing, he says, well, there is this boudoir photo. And Anik says, I don't need to see that. But Danner's like, I do. And we don't get to see it. She just grabs it and says, okay, Vivian. Like, she's approving in this vague way. So then we have like a dinner scene, them sitting across from each other, just absolutely lusting over one another. The fucking chemistry between these two is really good, guys. It is on point. I couldn't help but be like, well done on the casting here, kiddos, because they genuinely feel like they are ready to go to town on each other in front of her husband. Like, it is okay. That I was feeling it. And he comes over and he has made dinner and is just like this good-hearted man doing the best for his wife and his half-brother. And the two of them are racked with guilt, but like not enough to not. They really aren't able to tear their eyes away from one another. When they reach forward for like a toothpick, there's this cool little toothpick dispenser. I have never seen one of these, and I'm low-key kind of wanting one. It's like this enameled egg shape, and you press the top of it, and it comes up with the toothpicks like out, sort of blooming outward. Feng, you guys are so in sync. It really tickles me in this like totally oblivious way. So anyway, yeah, it's just so funny. The way he's playing it as opposed to the two of them just like agonized staring, wanting so badly to touch one another. And finally, he's like, all right, you know what? I forgot I have tickets. I've really got to go. And this is when Feng is like, oh, wait, I have a surprise for Vivian, and I really want you to be here for it. Let me go grab it. And he has gotten her this lovely necklace as a anniversary present. The way that he does this, you guys, I just, this is so over this. It's so great. I really, really enjoyed this episode a lot. So he opens the box, and I don't know what the pendant is exactly. I don't even remember. But he's so excited to give her this gift. And again, the two of them looking at each other as he is being like generous. Oh yeah, here it is. These fingers are so chapped from cooking and cleaning for our only child. So he has Ulysses come around and do it instead. And there's this incredibly slow and dramatic like putting on of the necklace. You guys, I loved this so much. I can't even tell you. The shots of it and him like right beside her neck and her ear and seeing it like sort of further down and it slides up her chest as he brings the chains around to fasten it in the back. It's so fucking good. And then as they're in this like highly intimate moment, Feng just sticks his face in and goes, wow, that looks awesome. And just like completely interrupts the whole tone of the thing. Oh, you guys, I absolutely could not. It was so good. So, of course, then we have the mandatory breakup scene where she meets him and tells him, I can't dance with you anymore, and he doesn't want to hear it. It's in the rain, of course. She's got like a scarf tied around her hair. Again, all of this has to feel really timeless. This sort of thing I'm imagining happening in like the early 60s is sort of the time frame when I picture a lot of these sorts of romance movies taking place, even though that is like pure, as I said, I haven't watched a lot of these, but that's like the look I feel like they're going for here. And he tells her, I can't dance alone. And she says, then you will find another partner. You'll find somebody. And this also makes sense as to why in that silhouette she's got that flamenco kind of dress on as well. Because you guys remember that I was sort of like taking from that, okay, that means a thing. But her, I was sort of wondering why she would be in that outfit. I love as she walks away, he shouts after her that the hotel is booked and it's non-refundable. I mean, genuinely a consideration. When you aren't working with an unlimited budget here, having an affair can be expensive, I have to imagine, you know? And of course he starts dancing in the rain here to like, oh my God, you guys, I can't. He says it was like another landmine went off, but this time my friend's foot was my heart. Oh my God, you guys, him dancing in the rain. This is just, it's so good. It's so good. So he then comes back to the present and says, I found solace in my role as Funkle. And we get to see lots of footage of him with these little like children, girls. They're so cute, you guys. They are so delighted in these scenes, and the whole way they film this is very like rosy and golden because it's these happy memories and him trying to tell himself that he is happy, and even though he is still absolutely obsessed with this man's wife, he wants more, and he's kind of hanging around hoping it'll happen again, even though he's not admitting that to himself. And there comes a point where they both reach forward for this toothpick dispenser again. But when she sees his hand coming forward, she pulls away. And he does this real strong, dramatic swallow as he sees that she has stopped herself and won't be touching his finger this time. But yeah, this whole thing, it's just very fun because he's attempting to just turn this into I can just be on the sidelines and still enjoy having a sort of life with her, even though it isn't the real one that I want. And the two of them wind up dancing in the living room, and they come very, very close to kissing again. And it's funny because like her daughters are right there, and it's supposed to be like they can't see what's going on. And I'll just speak as a child whose mother was having an affair from when I was very small up until I was a teen. You definitely can tell. Even when you're too little to really, really understand like the full impact of what is happening, you still are definitely able to be like, they want to kiss each other. I can tell they want to kiss each other. That's what's happening here. And it just made me wonder if this were told to Grace and Zoe, would they be like, oh, I wondered if something was going on, you know? But anyway, they get interrupted by the girls fighting. She sends them upstairs. And then the two of them have this whole conversation about how he can't keep doing this. Do you know how hard it is for me to be around you every day and not have you for myself? I'm in love with you. I have to go. And she just tells him to don't be ridiculous. I really wonder if, like, is she not as in love as he is? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because the way that this is supposed to play out in this sort of movie is often that she loves him as much as he loves her, but she has actually got something to lose and he doesn't. So she stays in the situation she's already in because she wants to hold on to the family she has, despite her feelings being just as strong. And it feels for me like she doesn't feel as strongly as he does, honestly. And I don't know. When he says, like, of course you wouldn't know, she says, is that what you think, Ulysses? You're a fool. Implying that it's killing her as well. But I don't know, guys. I don't know, man. I just kind of feel like this is a much more on his end thing than it was on her end. I feel like he is painting this as, oh, I desperately need you to be on the same page as me, where this is this tragic love story. And really for her, it's like, it was a fling. I had fun. You were hot, but it's over, you know? I don't know. I can't decide. But anyway, he goes to leave and Feng is standing right there and has apparently just been around the corner listening this entire time and heard every word. He had been I love the fact that he is not only coming in, but he's carrying a bag of groceries. He's being taken advantage of while doing everything he can to simply support his family. I treated you like my full brother, and this is the thanks I get. Get out. If I ever see you again, I'll kill you. And I can imagine him actually saying that. To be totally honest, I don't even feel like that part's made up, but I don't believe that Feng would do it. What I like to think, you guys, is that Feng was trying to kill Ulysses and accidentally killed Edgar. That's something that I would enjoy being the reveal here, is that the wrong person died. But I don't know. And so yeah, he says that he used his Delta miles to set out and travel the world again, hoping to forget dance. I love the Delta miles. The only thing that would have been better is if he said specifically that he was going to use the Delta miles that he had racked up while renting all of those hotel rooms or something. And he says, but wherever I went, dance followed me. And we see him at this pub in Ireland, and I love when he says, and so did she, and he keeps seeing these women that he thinks look like her, but they don't look anything like her. And he's got this cross earring as well, and I just really do enjoy that little touch of oh, I'm so edgy, you know? But yeah, all of these different places that he goes, he is imagining that he sees her. At one point, it's a black man that he's looking at, and he thinks he sees her, which that really cracked me up, that they were just you know what? Why don't we just make it absolutely fucking anybody? We have him all covered in tattoos, staring broodingly out the window, and this woman saying, "You're thinking about her, aren't you? I can make you forget." And she's doing this sexy flamenco dance with the castanets. Oh my God. And of course he has to do the "leave me," and throws his glass into the fireplace. And then it took me years on end, but finally I found peace. And okay, so the flower he's smelling, it looks sort of like Queen Anne's lace, but it's definitely not. But yeah, he's up in the mountains of Peru. Is that where Patagonia is? Is in Peru? And we see him kind of being this local healer. I don't know if any of this is real. That what he's doing works. I like to think these people did not ask for his help, and he doesn't know what he's doing, but he is out here insisting that he be involved in these healing things, and nobody really has the knowledge or heart to tell him no. I love when this kid comes in and says there's an iron bird coming from the sky, and he says, use the English I taught you. And the kid just says, in the field there is a helicopter. You guys, this is just, it's so fun. It's really just, it tickled me. Even though I'm not super familiar with this genre, it just, all of it felt so specific. So anyway, this is Edgar. And he tries to like tell him, Grace would really want you to come to the wedding. She's fond of you. And I know about the affair. And when he's like, well, how could you know this? Edgar says, statistically, most family fights are about money or affairs. And since you clearly don't value money, I deduced it was an affair. And then he drops that bomb and says, you have to have considered and done the math that maybe Grace is your daughter. And it turns out, no, he never did the math. It never even occurred to him. I don't know how he never thought of it. And I love the drama of him getting like shaky and like having to sit down. My heart leapt at the idea. Could it be? Could I actually have a daughter with Vivian? And Edgar says, if there's a solitary chance that you're Grace's father, she deserves to have you at that wedding. And that is what decides him on coming. So we come back to the present, and Anik is sitting there absolutely horrified. And he just gets up and is like, I gotta take a walk. Hold on. How am I supposed to deal with this? Zoe doesn't know. Why do I know even? So that's one mystery solved. So then we go to Zoe, who is approaching Hannah outside. She's sitting on the edge of the pool with her like feet in the water, and she's working on something. I don't know what it is that she's doing. Maybe it's like leather working. It looks like she's got an awl in her hand, and she's sort of like pressing, but it was really, really hard to tell. I like the idea of her just doing whatever random thing here on the side of the pool, because it's just a quirky pastime that she can be involved in, you know? But Zoe says, I know that you have feelings for Grace, so just admit you killed your brother so we can all go home. And she says, but I wouldn't go home. I would go to jail. Which would be your new home? No, because I didn't kill my brother. And Zoe literally says, God, whatever. She's carving an anchor. Of course she is. She's carving an anchor. Oh, this fucking woman. And Hannah says, it's too bad the videographer left. And Zoe is like, oh my God, right. And they're trying to remember his name. Kyle, no, more annoying. Kyrie, no, that's too annoying. Kyler. He was filming all weekend. That is actual evidence. And here comes Travis out of nowhere. He's literally like in the undergrowth. And I don't know what it was supposed to be that he was doing back there. Like, Zoe accuses him of spying and he just says, don't change the subject. But I was sort of like, is that what he was doing? Like, that would be the most logical explanation, but I kind of like the idea that he was doing something way weirder. But he's like, yeah, Kyler and his footage, like, that might be the key to all of this. When Zoe says that her father wouldn't want to contact him because he doesn't want to be involved in the investigation. Travis points out that's really suspicious, and she says, no, it's not, and then she just leaves. Travis tries to chase her and just falls and breaks one of the, like, lounges by the side of the pool while saying, Mounties always get their man? I don't know what this man is on, but he really needs, like, professional help, I think. So we go back to Ulysses finishing up this story. And he's saying that, like, it was really, really nerve-wracking knowing that he was going to be seeing Vivian after such a long time. And he is meditating on the top of this rock to center himself, and this pure white horse like shows up beside him while he's meditating as if it were drawn to him. The fucking lens flares and everything, you guys, and he's once again wearing one of those open-necked white shirts and talking to the horse, I mean you no harm. You're lost, aren't you? Let's get found. And hops bareback onto this horse. It's just such a fucking vibe, riding over the like walkways of this estate on this horse, just in time to get there for the rehearsal dinner. It's the camera's flashing. I mean, you guys, I really like the idea that he is living in this world. Like, for him, I don't feel like he believes he is overstating anything. There are certain characters that I believe overplay certain aspects because they're trying to create this sort of this narrative, and with him I really kind of believe he's one of the few people that he doesn't have to work to create it because he really genuinely sees his life this way. And when he looks over and sees Vivian and the like look on her face, oh my god, the two of them, Feng slamming his hand on the table and just stalking out. So anyway, he says, I had to be the carefree funkle for the girls, but inside I was a raging torrent of emotions. And then he has the whole thing with Anik, who presents this flowery speech. I may not be family, but I belong here, god damn it. I love your niece. I love her with every ounce of my being. And that is why it makes perfect sense that I should be the one to drink from your horn. I don't remember it being that flowery, but could we just please skip this next part? Nope. Oh, man. And her getting sprayed with all of that. Oh, it's so nasty, you guys. It's so disgusting. Ugh. So she tells him to meet her by the Weeping Willow at midnight. And he goes to the Weeping Willow. And we have that, like, cherry blossom tree that's there with its petals fluttering. And when they meet, it's clear he kind of thinks there's going to be a certain tone. But it's not what he gets. She wants to know how the fuck he could have told Edgar about the two of them. And he's very quick to be like, I didn't. He had figured it out. He put something else together, too, that I might be Grace's father. And immediately you see her just be like, oh, god damn it. I had really hoped you'd never think of that. And when he says, is she mine? She says, no, I did a paternity test when she was born. But the way she says no, for me, felt very false. I really think that there's a possibility still. I don't even, like, I'm not saying that she did a paternity test and she's lying about the results. I am thinking she never checked because she doesn't really want to know. She seems very much like somebody who would like to simply bury her head in the sand. It's bury her head in the sand. He likes to bury his head in the sand. And this is where Feng turns up, and he immediately is like, Grace is my daughter, and don't you dare fucking say anything to her. And he says, I won't, but Edgar might. And he says, I'll handle Edgar. I won't let him ruin my family. So, of course, it's like Ulysses is setting up that his brother might be the killer here. But later on, when they start talking about the timeline and whether it matches up, he says something like, if you're going to be talking about my brother, I think I should step out. And it was very much sort of like, I'm such a good guy that I don't want to be present for this. But I couldn't help but think he had really presented his brother very purposely as a suspect. It seemed to me like he was throwing him under the bus, the way that he played this whole thing. You know, I don't know. He tries to get forgiveness from Feng, who says that he won't forgive him even on his deathbed. And this is when Sebastian runs by naked, and Anik shows up in the grass with the phone charger that he was sent. He says, I had come halfway across the world only to find my brother still hated me, and the hope Grace was my daughter dashed. I went through the motions just to get through the day, and then I could disappear again forever. But to my surprise, Grace needed more from me. And he sees the moment where she is left on the dance floor by Edgar with no explanation, and he steps forward to dance with her again. And that is why this was like such a big moment for him, was after not having danced for so long, he is able to set aside all of his pain and his baggage to dance with her on the dance floor. And then, of course, we have her turning out to be this like adept dancer, and him thinking because she's a natural, that this means that she was definitely his daughter. No matter what I threw at her, she matched me step for step. And we have Vivian on the sidelines watching with this look on her face like she doesn't want to acknowledge the truth. You know, she's very stone-faced and, what's the word I want? Stoic. I started to question if she really had done a paternity test all those years ago. And I love when he makes eye contact with her and the lights behind her and everything. She had every reason to lie, to put the past where she thought it belonged. So, what he comes up with here after deciding, I think she may be full of shit, is that he is going to take a swab off of one of her drinks. And apparently, you know, we know that this is something cops do all the time, so Danner is very familiar with this. And he is going to conduct a paternity test of his own. Now, I really want to know, if he were to do that, would he just blow up Grace's world and tell her that he, you know, like, what is he going to do? But, like, after everything, and Feng, I guess if you feel like he already hates me, then what the hell, I may as well do it like, I suppose. But it just seems like such a shitty move. But yeah, this is what motivates him to call for an after party, because he doesn't want to lose out on a chance to touch a glass that Grace had drunk out of. So Anik at this point is literally like curled up in a chair saying, this feels really violating. Anik, I agree. I really do. But I just want somebody to ask, like, what would you have done with that information anyway? You know? So he goes up to Grace and tells her this flowery speech about how now you will no longer feel the rain because you will shelter one another. And he takes the glass, offering to refill it, and gets the swab. And that's what he is in the middle of doing when Sebastian walks up. And we do have this moment where Sebastian says, it's been rather a good night for me. Time to get squiffy. And I really wanted to like mention that specifically because, you know, him getting drunk, it could be because things went well the way that he wanted them to, or it could be because he fucked up and got fired. And I was really wanting to pay attention to the way that other people interpreted his behavior. And the fact that he says it's been a good night for me, it could be a good night for plenty of other reasons than the one he presented with the baseball card. But I just thought it was really interesting that he seemed so sad to like Hannah. And then when we're in this POV with Ulysses, he sees this as somebody who was celebrating. So I'm really not sure where I land on this. Feng comes up to the counter and he has a huge, like, elaborate plate of that. What is it called? Ping? It's got strawberries embedded in it. And he's got this real, like, intense look on his face as he's looking over at Edward. Bing. And when he says, maybe I could try your Bing, I've never had it before, Feng puts his hand up and says, no, this is for Edgar only. Which, again, it's very like, I'm setting up my brother to look super, super suspicious right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Feng was trying to get an investor and he made this like incredible plate as a way to get into the conversation with Edgar, warm him up, maybe talk about business, and also potentially get him to like keep his mouth shut about Ulysses and his, you know, potentially being Grace's father. And when Danner asks him if did he ever eat the Bing, he says, I don't know. It was a private conversation. And this is when he backs away saying, if you're going to talk about my brother, I should probably step out, having laid this groundwork very specifically. I just don't see it. I don't think Feng did it, but if he did, that would certainly be unexpected. I would enjoy that as a twist, you know, as long as it makes sense. So anyway, this is when Danner is like, that is Vivian's secret to tell. Don't say anything to Zoe. And as soon as he's in the middle of like, so what, I'm supposed to not tell Zoe any of this? She comes walking up and is like, tell me what? I really kind of thought maybe it was going to be that she like had heard enough that they actually do tell her the secret. And even though she seems suspicious, she doesn't ask further questions. The main thing that she is here for is to show them that they have discovered the Instagram of that videographer and that we can get in touch with him and get all of his videos. I really just want to point out, when she like shows his Instagram, it's a lot of really weird like selfie position. It does not look like this guy is a real videographer. He looks like he's 14. I don't buy that this guy is a videographer. This feels really weird. But I guess we'll see, like, what link could he have? I don't want him to be, like, directly involved with anything, but I also, because, like, you know, you want whatever has happened to only involve the folks that you know so far, because you're actually invested in them. However, if he was hired by Feng, definitely there's a sense of, like, he had something to do with finding this weirdo who doesn't seem to have credentials that I can see as a videographer. So yeah, Anik says, no, this is great. He was filming all weekend, so all the secrets are coming out. And he has a kind of pained expression on his face. I am guessing that the expression is because he doesn't want to, like, doesn't want Zoe to know that he was planning on proposing. But I'm not totally sure that's what that is, or if we're supposed to be sort of like reading into it that there was something more going on that we didn't even get to see from his POV. But yeah, I feel like it has to be just a proposal thing, right? And how will Zoe feel about that after he has sort of been insistent on interviewing her parents and her sister? I have to admit, guys, at this point, I am not that invested in him and Zoe because she's being so foolish about this whole thing. So now I'm not even really rooting for their relationship, which is, it's a bit of a shame, I think, that her personality had to get trashed so bad. I just don't see myself reacting like she did, and it's really hard for me to relate to. Like, this is the sort of thing that I always have trouble with, where somebody would insist it could never be so-and-so, that I know them better than anyone, and they're not capable of blank, blank, blank. I'm firmly in the camp of anybody is capable of anything, and you don't know. You just never know. But I know that that's kind of like not standard. I won't even say that that's an unusual point of view. It's just most people are more like she is when it comes to their own family and stuff. I just find it really tedious and frustrating. So I'm personally more like, I kind of hope it's Zoe that who's the murderer, just to take her off the table and get Anik singled up again, if that's what we're going to go into with the next season, you know? Anyway, Ariel says, I had interpreted Anik's pained expression as his nervousness about knowing these new secrets about Zoe's family. Oh, that makes more sense, Ariel. That he's just like, oh, okay, cool. So you're going to get to see all the stuff about like how Grace might not be your full sister. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. I didn't even think of that, even though I definitely should have. But yeah, anyway, I'm kind of down for Zoe to like get taken off the board or fully own up to the fact that she has been really irrational and unfair this whole time. So, all right, guys, I'm wrapping up. Thank you again so much for hanging out with me. Thank you to Max for commissioning this show. I'm having a lot of fun. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.